There are some amazing developments about these so-called drones in New Jersey. And there are developments coming out right now that we are watching, and I will try to keep you posted by the minute. But right now, let's get into what's going on with these mysterious so-called drones that it's turning out to be ain't no drones at all. Coming up next on Encounters USA. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Encounters USA. And if you are new to the channel, then I just want to tell you that we do aliens, we do Bigfoot, and we do Dogman here. And if you are new, you will probably want to hit that like and subscribe button and ring that bell so you won't miss a single exciting video. Now, speaking of exciting videos, what is going on now in the area of aliens is really getting wacky, but let me just give you a little background. If you haven't seen my video about how these things cannot possibly be drones, then please go and check that out, and I will leave a link in the description. Now, the next thing I want to tell you is I want to kind of update you on some of the things that I said in the last video, but some of the things that I really left out. And one of the most important things that I left out or kind of glossed over was the fact that who has jurisdiction over United States airspace? It is the United States Air Force, and it is the Federal Aviation Administration. And somehow the Department of Homeland Security is being tasked with finding out who's doing this. The Department of Homeland Security does not have an Air Force. At the very least, they should be tasking NASA with finding out who these things are or what they're doing, or local police departments with a helicopter. But Homeland Security, I don't know what their Air Force looks like, but I'm sure it doesn't look as big as the one that would be needed to combat how many drones there are here. Now, let me just go over some of the things that have been happening over the last few days. And the first thing I want to remind you is that this is all 1984 double speak going on here. They keep using the term drone, drone, drone. They have not once mentioned the fact that these are unidentified flying objects, have not said anything about that. And the only thing that they have said, and I didn't say this in the video I did before, but the only thing they have said is the same thing they've been saying since 1966 in the Condon Report, when they spent a lot of money to have these people say there is no threat from UFOs. And if you really want to know about my background in the UFO story, please check out my book. No, well, kind of a pun intended, but you can get it on Amazon. It's called Deceptions of the Ages, quote unquote, Mormons, Freemasons, and extraterrestrials. And it really talks to you, or it talks about the connections between, the Freemasons, the alien question, and the people that we have dubbed, quote unquote, Mormons. So, with that in mind, and let's continue on now. They have come up with this idea that there is some kind of mothership in the last few hours, or last half a news cycle, that they've come up with there's some kind of mothership and it's from Iran. And I guess they were spreading that rumor for a while, but now apparently the Air Force has come out and said, no, there is no airship, whatever, from mothership from Iran, and these drones are not from Iran, and they're totally um, letting that go. But now let me just reiterate the fact that these things are in our airspace, and with all of the weapons we have not taken down one of these things and seen what it is or who's flying it. Not one. And as I said in my last drone video, all of these things have pilots, they have controllers, and those things all have to use, radio frequency technology, the same thing that's on your phone. So it's not like they can't just go find these people and find out where their signal is transmitting from. If it was a Trump supporter, that they didn't like and was making a telephone call somewhere, then I'm sure they could tell you exactly where that person is. But anyway, these drones are very easily traceable. And as I said in my last video, I have one myself and I use them in my documentaries. So then let's continue on. And I guess before I get off of my documentaries, let me just say that the timing of this could not be more impeccable because I've been to ECETI Ranch, and I have filmed a documentary there about the UFOs that have been coming off of Mount Adams for a long, long time. And that documentary is called ECETI Ranch Stargate. The portal opens, and it will be available soon. I hope sooner rather than later, but probably they'll release it sometime in the new year. So anyway, I have an extensive background on the UFO question, the extraterrestrial question, and I've written extensively about it. And I have, basically studied this all of my life. So it's kind of very interesting for me to follow this and to be able to tell you about it. So to just catch up, the Air Force is not involved in this, although they should be. The Department of Homeland Security apparently is supposed to be involved in it, but doesn't have any answers or questions. And they started coming out with this idea that these are Iranian drones and they are coming from a mothership and flying back and forth, which has now recently been, I guess the proper term is debunked. Okay, so let me just go through this article. This is from New Jersey 101.5, and I'm just going to go through this and hit some of the topics or the bullet points here. Representative Chris Smith is today in front of Congress and in one of their congressional hearings about these things, and he is grilling somebody from, I think, Homeland Security who doesn't know anything. And before I forget, as we're going to see in a second, this is very important. They had a meeting this morning with Homeland Security, and Homeland Security was going to tell them exactly who these drones were, I guess, or what was going on, or what Homeland Security knew about it. And that was this morning, and that I'm on Pacific Coast time, and we haven't heard anything about what went on in that meeting. So I just want to point that out, and I think it's going to be in this article. But anyway, they're talking about they brought these guys into Congress and they're talking to them about it. But anyway, here's the story that as it is, and I think this is the best update so far. So, a congressman says he was deeply concerned after police video recorded an army of 55 drones coming from New Jersey's ocean coast. Dozens of those drones also trailed a U.S. Coast Guard vessel. The comments by U.S. Representative Chris Smith, Republican of New Jersey's 4th District, come as state Homeland Security officials are set to brief mayors across the state in a closed door meeting on Wednesday morning. That is this morning. That, as I said, that happened, about 8 hours ago. So, update, a call for a state of emergency as evidence of mothership emerges. The drone sightings have been reported across New Jersey since Thanksgiving in places such as military bases, the residence of President-elect Donald Trump, power lines, a reservoir, and police stations. The FBI says it is investigating and taking tips. The FBI. Okay, so Homeland Security, FBI, not the Air Force, not NASA, and not the Federal Aviation Administration. Governor Phil Murphy says the drones do not appear to be posing a threat, but officials have not said whether they know who's behind the flights. Really? What do you think that means? Re- Read more. Shoot them down. Congressman demands military action against drones. 55 drones versus the Coast Guard. Smith said that police, this is Representative Smith, said body cam footage captured 55 drones coming in from the ocean off Island Beach State Park on Sunday night. The commanding officer for the Barnegat Coast Guard Station, James Corbisiero, told Smith that between 20 and 30 of them followed one of the station's 47-foot rescue boats. Smith said that given the Coast Guard deals with drug runners, what would be the rules of engagement with the drone? This isn't some amateur out there flying a few of these things. There's so many and they're so big, Smith said. You just don't know the intent of these drones. Smith ticked off the number of military facilities in New Jersey at risk, including Naval Weapons Station Earl in Colts Neck, the Joint Base McGuire-Dix Lakehurst, the Picatinny Arsenal in Morris County, a decommissioned nuclear waste site near Berkeley, U.S. Coast Guard stations, plus National Guard training facilities. We have to treat this with a presumption of potential hostile threat. You got to presume. You don't just sit there and say, well, it'll be okay. No, it won't be. And I learned that lesson during those bombings, Smith said. Smith said Murphy could also be doing more in his communication with the federal government. I think he needs to demand the Biden administration and the Secretary of Defense need to make this a priority right now. Don't just say Homeland Security is handling it, Smith said. All right, so that is your latest update right now. They really do not know what these things are, and they are not saying what they are, and they're passing the buck to every other alphabet agency they can. So, as a guy who does aliens, Bigfoot, and Dogman, this is really, really big stuff. And these are very interesting times. And I know they're going to try to, get subdue the news with everything else, but this is the biggest thing that's probably ever happened in the history of mankind. And it's just really, we just have to be careful about how these guys are handling it because they should be very open about, well, we don't know what it is. And the fact that they're saying that we don't think that it poses any kind of threat to anybody is the same thing that they've been saying since 1966. And we don't really know that that is in fact true because of the record of abductions that they've been doing and the other things that have been happening here on this planet involving these extraterrestrials and a lying government that doesn't ever want to tell us the truth. And with all of this disclosure and change in the name to UAP and everything that the government, this hokey business that they're trying to pull off here, Now they're coming out and they're doing the same stuff that they've been doing forever. They were never going to come out and disclose this information about these aliens or whatever because of the issue of the technology, and they want the patents. They want access to these patents, and they don't want anybody else having access until they understand the technology well enough and that they have all the possible patents. So it's an old game, it's an old story, and it's probably been going on, according to Philip Corso, since Velcro and the Starlight Scope. But who knows? I'm just here watching and observing and just seeing what happens. And I hope that you'll be doing the same thing. I don't think that there's any reason to panic, but we do need to watch this and see what's going on, because if this is what I think it is, then the everything has changed. And what do these people want? And how are they going to be treated by our government? And what is going to be the result of how our government treats these entities if they are actually from outer space? And if our government does things, well, we've all seen that movie Mars Attacks, right? So we certainly don't want that kind of scenario. And we certainly don't want, one of those it's a cookbook kind of things either. And I'm just not trying to scare you. I'm just saying, well, you just don't know. So that's why at Encounters USA, where we do aliens, Bigfoot, and Dogman, we do these updates, especially now, to keep you informed. And we also say, always watch your back.